Um, and some have marveled at it. So this is Italo Calvino, who's a great Italian essayist, who thought hard about what it meant in the coming millennium for literature. And as I read this wonderful book called 6 Memos for the Next Millennium, he discussed a number of qualities that are evident in our internet world today. It was quite prescient, very interesting. These were lectures he offered at Harvard, I think in the 1990s. He died before the last one was offered. But he found 6 qualities might exemplify the coming millennium. And I think we can agree that quickness and lightness are that. That's part of the internet world, part of the digital world. Exactitude and choice. You can choose exactly what you want, where you want it, how you want it. Multiplicity. There are thousands and millions of people and opportunities, all of which are part of this new world that we're among. Visibility. We can see things that we couldn't possibly see 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And consistency. It's very important. Can we still make sense of the world so that it's not just rushing at us in wild, like a stream? So consistency was also important. So I was impressed. I wanted to share these with you. But the fact is that if everyone is networked, then the difference is going to be who can collaborate, right? So that's the delta. Who can collaborate? And why should you collaborate? As we've seen, it's the game changer. It's the difference maker. It's, as the military would say, the force multiplier. So where do you start? Well, the first thing you do is you check that Marlboro Man mindset at the door. No cigs here, no smoking, no Marlboro Man stuff. Here's what's left of the Marlboro Man. He's an empty suit, a couple of empty boots, empty hat. So here's some collaboration essentials. Now, I'm going to run through these, but I want to share them with you because there's 9 of them, so we'll get through them very quickly. Here we go. Okay. The first, well, actually there are 10 if you include this. You need to get a new mantra, and here's one that our friend Steven Spear at MIT has suggested, namely, stay humble, not arrogant. So humble, no one can go it alone. And stay optimistic. Together we can always do better. The opposite of that is arrogance. No one does it better. That's the Marlboro Man. Or I don't need anyone. And pessimism. No one does it better anyway. That's what the NYPD was when Bill Bratton got there. It was arrogant. We're the NYPD. We're the best in the world. We don't have to do any better than we do. And besides, no one could do it better. And he said, we're going to do 10% crime reductions every year. And he said, here's how we're doing it. I'm giving you CompStat. So the keys, the 9 keys to collaboration and getting it done. You want to get you want a vision. You want to align on a vision. Get people going around a shared vision of what's possible, what they want. Plans. You have to right-size the problem. You can't do everything at once. You need a platform. You have to enable a clearing. People find each other. Maybe a technology clearing, a technology platform. Could be a park. Could be a school. You have to make it pay. So what's in it for me? You have to have the right people. You need the A-team. It signals that you're serious about what you're doing and people want to join you. But you also need to mobilize average men and women who want change, who are standing quietly off to the side, the change vanguard, as my colleague Steve Kelman has called them. You want to be able to measure the gain. You need performance. You have to show results in your collaboration because people are giving up something to be part of you. They're giving up something to be part of something bigger. You need to be sure you've got your politics squared away, so you're staying in the headlights of your support. You can't outrun your headlights. You can't go off the side of the road. If you do, you'll be standing alone. You will perish. And finally, you need to lead. You need to lead by teaching, by learning, by delivering, and as we'll see in Egypt, by just being who you are. So very quickly, some quick examples to align on the vision. Internet Canada in the 1990s. Canada had no national internet. A man named Doug Hall saw that there was some worked for Industry Canada. He had to get his scholarship information disseminated. His staff said you should start to use the internet, whatever that is. He saw that there were some throwaway desktops in the basement of the the ministry where he worked in Toronto, Ontario, in Ottawa, excuse me, he linked up 2 schools. He got some free connectivity. Then he got 30 schools. Then all the schools of Canada and the cities and the nation. It was an extraordinary 5 years of development for Doug Hull. He grew by increments with his vision. He didn't know that's what he was doing, but he could sense it, he could feel it. And he added others' visions, right? So he lets others come in and be part of this thing. Well, what's your vision? What's your collaboration? He created Pull, right? He's got 30 schools. Well, what schools don't want to be part of that? They're moving all sorts of information, getting a lot of quality. Students are engaged, and partnerships and power. So politicians now hear from their constituents. They want this. And Doug Hull was able to lead with his vision. Gall's law says no system ever sprang intact, complete, right? Every known system in nature and invention has started small. That's right, it starts with 2 schools, and it goes global. Canada on the internet with a vision. Right-size the problem. How do you gain awareness of every ship and every crew afloat in the world today? That was the problem facing the United States and its maritime partners just after 9/11. Port security was a disaster. No one knew who was coming or going. A fellow named Mike Krieger, working for the CIO's office in the Department of Defense, shrank the problem. He said, look, we can't figure out this big global system. We'll be here for 5 years just figuring out how to plan for it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to prove some key concepts. I'm going to prove that we can link all of our data together, and then we can search and find each other's data. So when I say ship and you say boat and someone else says canoe, that we all know we're talking about a vessel that moves on the water, and we can expose each other's data, expose our data, and see each other's data in native viewers. And so Mike was able to create the first iteration of the U.S. Maritime Domain Awareness Initiative, not in 5 years, but in 9 months. Enough that the admirals in the boardroom of the Chief of Naval Operations, who now had something in their hands, were able to say, this is going to get millions and millions of dollars. We need everything that you've showed us here. Go forward and conquer. And it's now a major undertaking of several governments around the world. The key to right-sizing on collaboration is people are scared. They need to know they can do this. Right-sized, you can say, we know how to do this. This is not hard. We know how to search and find. That's the problem here. Let's show what happens when we apply it to this problem of maritime security. Platform, we've talked about Claudia, but so in Rio she had this challenge, and the platform, everyone had access, right? It's really easy. Social media is easy, that's the idea. It's linkable to other platforms. She engaged and created a culture of collaboration around these shared problems. People felt as though they mattered now. She made the clearing, starting on an easy platform all could see, find, and get to, and then tapped into other platforms for products, real products like curriculum. You have to make it pay. Everyone wants to know in a collaboration, what's in it for me? If you can't answer that question, you're sunk. What's in it for me is one of the most important questions. Here's the Apple App Store. I assure you it's a terrible, terrible business proposition for any developer. The economics of the Apple App Store so favor the owner and so unfavor the developer. It's remarkable. So why do people do it? Well, fame for sure, fortune for very, very few. That says, oh, whatever. So it's coolness or status or something in it for everyone. So paint my fence, we see a lot of that in social media. You have to measure the gains. Well, here's an instance in which the United States submarine fleet, its sonar had been compromised by espionage. Underwater advantage had been lost. This is the Walker case. Americans discovered it because it kept bumping into Russian subs who they couldn't see. And the Russians were coming unbelievably close. What did Johnson do? He was given charge by the admirals. They said, fix this, and he ripped out the existing sonar platform within the United States submarine fleet, substituted for with commercially available off-the-shelf components. What does he get as a result? He was able to start moving the new sonar array into submarines within 18 months. It was refreshable because it's off-the-shelf software. If it goes out of date, you can refresh it. One-tenth the cost, twice as effective, easily updatable. All U.S. subs now have it and have been refreshed many, many times. Advantage restored. Very impressive account from Bill Johnson. In politics, you have to stay in your headlights. I'm going to skip this one. I'm not satisfied with this example. And I want to make sure we get enough time to talk about Egypt. So leadership brings it all together. The three paradigms of leadership. We have sort of a classic cross-boundary network. Look at Bratton in L.A. As he was chief of the Los Angeles Police Department, collaborating for 7 years with communities in Los Angeles to bring peace and quiet and reduce crime with very few cops, not like New York. He was at one-half the force level in L.A. as in New York. But he'd been very successful. 7 years in, the last vestige of LAPD culture, what's called the Metropolitan Division, had a difficult time during a May Day demonstration in 2007. They attacked reporters, they attacked immigrant leaders, they attacked hundreds were injured. It was everything that Bill had worked for was at risk, but what he had was commitment and passion that that LAPD was on the right road. There was resilience, and they came back strongly to be able to continue on the path of policing. There's hybrid brick and internet. Steve Ellis, so it's a mix of both the brick and mortar and the internet organization. And then finally, there's all internet all the time, and that's Egypt. Let's go into this for a few minutes. So Tunisia, it all starts here in 2010, December. One man, a fruit seller, his name is Mohamed Bouazizi. I forgive my pronunciation as well. He's in a square. It's in the town of Sidi Bouzid. It looks as though this was a town. It's 120 miles south of Tunisia. It's where one of the early battles of El Alamein took place in World War II. Other than that, not much going for it. About 30 or 40,000 people. A county seat. He was harassed by inspectors. He sells fruit from a cart. It's the only thing he's ever been able to do. They took his cart. They took his fruit. He went to a square and lit himself a fire, pouring gasoline on his head and yelling in the middle of traffic, "How do you want me to make a living?" He died a couple of weeks later. As he lay there dying, others gathered round in the city square and moved towards the governor's offices, and they began shaking on the gates. His cousins took YouTube of it, and you can see it today. People are shaking their fruits at the governor's office. They posted it to YouTube that night. Al Jazeera scans for social media. They have a special team that does that. They found the YouTubes coming out of Sidi Bouzid, and Tunisia, the Arab world, and globally in 24 hours was seeing this.